Hello, welcome back to Carrow Road, where they're packing up after a busy day, a proper day of cup action, which has unfortunately finished in a cruel end for Norwich City, losing 2-1 to Manchester United, denying them a place in the semi-finals, which would have been only the fourth semi-final in this competition in the club's history. So it's ended in a cruel way, but in a way there's a little bit of relief to it, but we'll get to that. I think the overriding thing for hopefully everybody watching from home, certainly speaking to Todd Cantwell after the game, is a bit of pride has been put back into this squad, into this shirt. United really pushed very hard. If you look at the stats, United had 66% of possession, 36 shots, which I think might be a Carrow Road record, 8 on target. Norwich had 10 shots and 1 on target, which was a brilliant strike from Todd Cantwell, his 7th goal of the season, and again we will come on to that. But we came into this game, of course, everyone pretty down in the dumps after last Friday, that 3-0 defeat to Southampton, and then on Wednesday the 1-0 defeat to Everton. So the FA Cup was pretty much a distraction, just hoping for some sort of positives. But as I said at the end of my video verdict on Wednesday after Everton, I was a bit conflicted about this game, because Norwich getting to Wembley, whether that's the semi-final, let alone the final, without fans there, I think that would be quite a horrible thing for Norwich fans to experience. I think it would have been, awful. So there's a little bit of me that's relieved that they've played pretty well. They can take heart from this into what remains of the Premier League campaign, knowing that survival chances are looking slim already, but at least they're giving themselves something to play with. But they now haven't got the spectre of a behind closed doors Wembley game looming, which is not one that I was looking forward to contemplating. So Daniel Farke mixed things up, 3 changes. Cantwell, Buendia and Pukki all came back into the team after being benched on Wednesday, and a bit of a change of shape as well. Duda, Onel Hernandez and Josip Drmic dropped to the bench, which meant Lucas Rupp kept his place, and there was a fair few social media comments which didn't seem too happy with that, but I think Rupp was really good, and he did go off in the second half. Apparently had a bit of a hip problem, but he was really tenacious, really worked hard, and first half I would definitely say he was one of Norwich's better players. He almost was a bit of a insurance policy for Buendia on the right. He played on the right of a central midfield 3 with Teti in the middle, McLean on the left, which suits him nicely as well, and then Cantwell left, Buendia right, and obviously the defence, because there isn't really any choice. But I'll skip over the first half because it was 0-0 at half time, and it was a pretty scrappy affair, a few chances here and there, but the second half was a cracker. We did end up going to extra time, and it looked like we were going to penalties, but it wasn't to be. 0-0, which is the same as the Southampton and Everton game, and then United take the lead in the 51st minute, and you just think, oh, here we go again. I think the 51st minute was when Southampton scored their first goal as well. That came from Odion Ighalo, a good bit of play on the left from Luke Shaw, got past Buendia, got the cross in past Aarons, and then Tim Closer inadvertently kicks the ball up in the air. It goes behind him. He, under pressure from Juan Mata, and Odion Ighalo is then onside. He may have been onside anyway, but I've not seen that angle, and just has the job to flick it past Krul from close range. Quite an acrobatic finish, to be fair to him, and Krul had little chance with that one. Norwich started to make some changes. Hernandez came on for Rupp, who, as I say, was struggling a little bit by that point, and Drmic came on for Pukki, who had a pretty frustrating day again, just not happening for him. When the confidence was just flowing, everything he touched turned to goals, and now, as so often with strikers, it's the opposite. Everything he touches just goes a bit wrong at the moment, and you really feel for him, because we all know what team he's capable of. So a forgettable day for him. But then Drmic, to be fair to him, he's not a huge centre forward. He's not a Grant Holt or a Troy Deeney or something, but he did make the ball stick more, and he worked hard, and he did have a part to play in the goal. Just before the goal, Buendia had whipped in a free kick from the left, and Godfrey couldn't quite turn it in at the back post. And then it was a sort of flowing team move in the 75th minute, finished brilliantly by Cantwell for his 7th of the season. McLean into Drmic on halfway. He finds Onel Hernandez, who cuts in from the wing, Buendia then tees up Todd in space, just where he wants to be. You know, if you watch Todd when he was coming through the youth ranks in that sort of classic 10 central attacking midfield position on the edge of the box, supporting the striker, all of a sudden the shot opens up in front of him, lashes it into the bottom right-hand corner, and it's such a shame that fans weren't here to celebrate, because it was a cracking goal. Probably will end up being in the goal of the season contenders, as one of our live updates commenters judged, I think that will probably be goal of the month, which was quite sharp. So that was a great moment, and from then Norwich were totally in the ascendancy. United had brought on Pogba, Martial, Rashford. They were going for it. They went through all their substitutions. They had Greenwood on the pitch as well. They went all out for the attack, and in extra time they actually took Eric Bailly off a defender and replaced him with Anthony Martial. So they were well on the front foot. But this all turned because in the 89th minute Tim Closer was sent off. And before that, Cantwell had almost exactly the same chance in the 82nd minute, but rather than shoot, he opted to try and cut inside his man and get a better shooting opportunity, but he should have just hit it. That could well have turned it all there. Straight after that, Godfrey whips in a cross, and Romero does really well to just get a punch ahead of Josip Drmic to prevent him heading in. And then there was one more chance as well, which was Drmic doing well to keep the ball alive and then teeing up Buendia to the right of the box, and he just leathered it through a sea of bodies, and it went just beyond the far post. And you thought, they're going to do this here. They'd just gone for it, all out attack. It was like they'd thrown off the shackles and said, screw this, let's go for it. Let's try and rescue something of this season. And then Godfrey tries to tackle Bruno Fernandes on the edge of his box, gets it all wrong, fouls him, and Odion Ighalo's through on goal, and Closer basically takes one for the team, hauls Ighalo down, red card, just outside the box so it wasn't a penalty, and the free kick was dealt with in quite spectacular fashion by Onel Hernandez chucking himself on the floor to block the low effort behind the wall. So Norwich survived that at least, but that meant heading into extra time, down to 10 men, already pretty knackered. You know, we're all seeing that with the restart, without having a full pre-season, that players are struggling a little bit for full intensity. And extra time was basically a rearguard action. Tim Krul, he'd made one really good save late in normal time, 3 at least very good saves in extra time. Godfrey and Aaron's heroic blocks. It was a backs to the wall job by that point. But then Adam Eder is being lined up to come on, clearly with the penalty shootout in mind, in the 118th minute. That was City's final substitution. He'd been saved right till the end, and it looked like it was going to be like the 5th round all over again, like at Tottenham. And then a bit of goalmouth pinball with Paul Pogba chipping into the box. Eventually Anthony Martial just gets a little prod on the ball and puts it into Godfrey's path, who inadvertently knocks it nicely into the path of Anthony Martial, and then it's on to Harry Maguire to sort of scoop it. He's already on the floor, scoops it into the bottom right-hand corner beyond Krul, with, you know, a sea of Norwich legs around him, but they're all just too tired to stop it, and it was so cruel. They deserved to go to the shootout, even though United had been pretty dominant. I don't think 36 shots is quite reflective of how much dominance they had, but because a lot of them were pot shots and they were getting pretty desperate by the end. But yeah, a cruel way for this cup run to end when it looked like so much something special could be happening, which, you know, might have given Norwich fans something to smile about. But there we go. It's torn away. And talking to Todd afterwards, of course, now it's all about Arsenal on Wednesday night, and building on this. We think. We just asked Daniel Farker, and he thinks as well that this now means that Tim Closer misses the Arsenal game, which is obviously horrendous because there are no defenders to come in. Alex Tete filled in at the back after Closer had gone off in extra time, so he will probably have to play there against Arsenal on Wednesday. If Norwich had gone through, we think that would have meant Closer would have missed the semi-final because it's competition specific, but because they're out, it needs to be served in the league this season. So that's going to be a little bit daunting, but at least they showed the spirit. You know, Arsenal, after a really bad start, got a good result in midweek, but we'll have plenty of time to talk about that. For now, at least, it just feels like we've had a proper game to get our teeth into, some drama, something to enjoy. All right, not the end result in the end, but something to savour a little bit, and something just to give those smiles and a goal at last. That's what everyone was really needing to see, wasn't it? So we'll see what happens from here. But for today, the FA Cup comes to a close, the first quarter-final in 28 years at Carrow Road. But it won't be a semi-final this year. That long wait for the club's first ever final won't be coming to an end this year. But for now, it's turning attentions back to the Premier League. Villa did lose to Wolves earlier in the day, so that was at least a little fillip ahead of the game. And if they can go and show this sort of character and shock Arsenal, then who knows, maybe the season isn't dead yet. Thank you very much for watching. I did get a good soaking just before I recorded this, so sorry if I look a little bit flustered, but there was a rainbow over Carrow Road set against some really dark clouds, which I put a picture of on Twitter, so take a look at that. But yeah, thanks for watching. Let us know your thoughts on the game in the comments below.